Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess, and we have Kevin K with us.
Hello, everyone.
Kevin has Tuber Chat and his own channel, Kevin K, and I've got the links going to be dropping throughout this live. Y'all make sure if you haven't friended Kevin already to go and friend both of his channels. He is a super supporter of the small channel community, and we're so thrilled to have him here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to welcome in, first of all, I want to welcome in everybody that is in chat. And let me get names written down because I'm falling behind already. I may not be able to keep up today, but that's okay. We have Garden State Gardener and Grow Big TV. That's Joe, Gail Southern Living, P&J, Homestead Adventures, Rushing Wind Mountain, Simply Vigo. Let me see. Jaden 0428, Life in the Piedmont is here. Scratch and Pete PA. So welcome in, everybody. And if I missed your name, just forgive me. And I'm going to bring up Heather with Milk and Honey Heritage.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Very good.
Always good. Good to be up here with both of you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like to start my lives out with an affirmation, and today's affirmation is, I am grateful for each moment of this life that I'm blessed with. And I also like to shout out all of my channel members. And one day I may not be able to do this, but until then, I'm going to keep on trying to plug them in. Lucretia YouTube, Triple Threat Firearms and Defense, McKay 235, KP Heathen, Catadin Mountain Mama Homestead, Jamie's Country Living, Storyteller Donnie, Creative Beauty Butterfly, Gail Southern Living, Corner Clubhouse Cobalt, The Bud Files, Helena M, Blackberry Rock Homestead, Sheila Gage, Grow Big TV, Maritza's Yarns and Crafts. I can't even read my writing, y'all. Garden State So-and-so, Ariel, Viking Venturer and Victuals, Marketplace Boutique, Team Jesus Ministers, Smoky Mountain Blessed, Life in the Piedmont, Theresa Jukowitz, and Yorktown. So thank you all for being channel members.
That's nice.
So how's everybody this morning?
Good. Good.
Always good. Always good.
Kevin and I were talking before this started about some of the things that go on in the small YouTube community, and I want to pick his brain. So I want everybody in the chat, if you would, put it in capital letters if you have a question for Kevin, and just drop it in the chat. That way we can roll with that. And Heather is here. She is gardening and homesteading, and she's just a sweet, sweet lady, and I love her to death.
Oh,
and
thank you.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about the gardening and everything. Kevin, do you garden?
I don't yet, but I've been talking about it lately. Now, forgive me, everyone, because it really is just talk. But what I talk about most often is a couple of years ago, we met some friends from YouTube. You might remember the channel Hope Bus. They're only a half an hour away from us in a town called Niagara on the Lake, not too far from Niagara Falls. So we visited them a couple of times now, actually took a tour of their RV conversion. And we did a video of this. While we were there, I talked so much about homesteading and, all our friends that have come into the Tuber Chat family with homesteading channels and gardening channels. They literally put a basil plant and a tomato plant in our hand and said, okay, you're going to do it right now. To be honest with you, Kristen looked after it. I haven't grown anything myself in a long time, but she took off with that and started to do a bunch of other stuff. We just live in an apartment, so it's all indoor, but she's growing a lot of different herbs and things like that. But it's great to have gotten a start. I aspire to do a little bit of that. I could use something green behind me here. I got nothing green in the office yet. I'm going to probably buy a fake tree for the corner, but I'd like to have something real as well that I can look after, even if it's something small. It's nice to have something natural around.
When you grow something green in the house, you're increasing the oxygen in your room.
I hope so.
Definitely do that, because we all need that good oxygen. And the plants need what we give off, which is that carbon dioxide.
There we go.
Dioxide. I can't remember. Anyway.
You can get a spider plant. It's pretty easy to take care of. Just water it once a week.
Yeah.
And it'll filter your air in your house.
Yeah. Those I call it mother-in-law's tongue. They say that's real good to grow.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's little sharp edges at the top.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So either of those, even if you grow a cactus don't take hardly any care, but I can kill a cactus.
My dad loved cactuses. When I was growing up, I remember we always used to have a cactus, and I could never understand, like, why do you like this thing so much? I just didn't get it. My dad loved nature and the outdoors and things like that. But I remember it would be there always, and it was of decent size in our living room. It was almost like a focal point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
He continues with those today, though. He has little tiny ones that he grows all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter, my oldest daughter, actually eats cactus. There's a certain cactus that they eat down in Mexico. It's very beneficial to you to eat it. It tastes kind of like green beans when it's cooked.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, I can't wrap my mind around eating cactus. But, if you live in Arizona or somewhere, I'm sure that's a common dish because it grows in
Right.
the area.
Yeah, I have some aloe. I have all kinds of indoor plants and outdoor.
Aloe's wonderful to have. I remember my father's got some of that as well, but like literally to have it, we all need it at some point, right? Whether you get stung by something or hurt yourself, or it has so much benefit, right? I have extremely fair skin, so I get sunburned terribly when we're out. Starting next week, I'll be outdoors in the good weather working again, and I have to be very conscious about being careful with the sun.
Okay.
It's nice to have aloe around, though, right? Like real natural aloe that you're controlling.
Yeah. If you need it, it's there.
Yeah, aloe vera is actually one I haven't killed, so it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And you water it whenever you think about it, which you can let it go a month and not water it, and it'll still be viable. And it's a very good plant to have, both to take internally and to use on your skin for burns. So why not plant it? We've got some people coming in. That's Black Guns and Gardens, My Alabama Farm Life, and Scratch and Pete. So thank y'all for coming in. And if I missed anybody in chat, forgive me. If you have a question for Kevin, write it in all caps, and I'll try to catch it as it's rolling through. And we'll try to give Kevin some questions today. Pick his brain about YouTube.
Well, if there's anything that anybody could use help with, absolutely. But I'm actually happy to be here with both of you because I talk about this all the time. I love the idea that a lot of our friends who have channels like yourselves, whether it's homesteading, gardening, or other channels that bring us a lot of outdoor content, it just seems that there's a similar generosity between the creators behind the channels wanting to share knowledge and resources with others. And I joke all the time, but you can see that my happy place is, surrounded by drywall and concrete and steel and glass. And, sometimes I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the truth. So I have a lot to learn. I have the most to learn from our homesteading friends because, one of the things I have to admit I'm not prepared for is if we did face a situation where you would be forced to grow your own food. I would be starting from scratch. I'd be throwing seeds right into the backyard. I can use a shovel, but that's about as far as I can get. And when I was on with Butler Family Farm the other day, we were talking about the idea that soil, Simply Jan Homestead was mentioning that soil is the key to a lot of that. So that's a start, right? And we've got lots of friends with lots of great information on their channel about how to do that kind of thing. But like I said, I've got as much to learn as anybody, if not more, when it comes to anything outdoors and that kind of preparedness. So I aspire to start and hopefully sooner than later.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. Just don't overwhelm yourself. You don't need to learn all the things or all the technology.
Right.
All the big words and stuff like
Yeah.
that. just getting started and learning just a little bit here and there, you know.
Yeah, starting with herbs in the house is a great place to start, especially if you live in an apartment and you don't have growing space.
Yes.
Those are great because you'll always have those fresh herbs on hand, and you can up pot them as they grow bigger. And a lot of those will continually grow because they're perennial, so they'll keep coming back.
Who just did the video? We probably all might have seen it. I don't think it was you, Susan, was it? Where you took the herbs and I forget if it's freeze drying, but like literally turn them into the powder.
Yes, I did. Well, I did.
Oh, it was your video. It was your video?
It was okra.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, yes. Like for instance, so somebody like myself, it's one thing to think like, hey, I'd love to grow some stuff. And with that basil plant that I was talking about, Kristen was telling me she was getting about 10 leaves a week off of that thing, and it was still vibrant and beautiful and everything else. So I understand how much that can have impact. But even that video that you showed the other day, I was like, oh wow, I use garlic powder all the time, but I would not think to make garlic powder. Right. And some of our friends could help with all of the different herbs that we use and all the different ways that we might use them. Right. So,
yeah, definitely.
We got some new people in the house. Ann Haynes, Christy Betts, who's my neighbor down the road, and Scotty Too Hottie. Welcome in. Welcome in. And if you're new here, y'all can drop the word hillbilly. And that will drop your link. If you want to know your weather, you can drop weather with your zip code. That's just some Nightbot fun.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all be paying attention to Nightbot because Nightbot is dropping all kinds of open collaborations to get yourself involved in. And even the men can get involved in some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I said that I was so happy like to be doing this with Susan right now, particularly, is just because we've known each other a long, long time. Milk Honey Heritage Farms is a newer channel for me, although I think we've been connected now for a good 6 months, if not getting on a year. And forgive me if I'm mistaken, because I literally sometimes lose track after our friendships have gone on for months and eventually years. But I've always enjoyed my time in Susan's live streams. I think we share a lot of core values. And I say that all the time, but I think it's absolutely true. But the conversation and the wholehearted positivity that comes from the conversations that happen on this particular channel are what draws me in and makes me grateful to be here.
That's nice. That's very nice.
P&J Homestead Adventure says, Kevin, if you don't want to grow garlic, you can go buy it when it's on sale at the market. It's a great start to making garlic powder.
For instance, yes, that would be a good idea. So thank you for that.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, you can actually grow things. There's a open collaboration out there from store to growing or something to that. I think it's Blackberry Rock Homestead and Luann's Kitchen doing that one. It should be dropping, the link should, where you go and buy something from the store and you plant it and you
see if it'll grow.
Yeah, see if it'll grow. Potatoes are really good. Onions, you can take the end of the onion or celery and just set it on the dirt and it will take root and grow again. Herbs, a lot of the woody herbs are real good for growing your own herbs. We've done it many, many times with many, many things. I've taken dry beans and thrown them in the ground and I took butter beans, thinking bush beans, and they were vines and they went all over my garden. I had butter beans everywhere in my garden. They just vined out. So yeah, experiment a little bit with that food. Great way to get into an open collaboration also is because you're experimenting.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. You got to experiment now and figure out what and how to make something work.
Right.
My first thing with gardening was I was a kid and they gave us a seed in school and we planted it in a little paper cup and brought it home.
Yes.
And I went outside and planted it. And then I decided, well, I'm going to go in there and get some popcorn. And I planted popcorn. And then I grabbed a potato and I planted a potato. Mother didn't even know And she came outside one day and she said, "What is this? We've got a garden going." She dug up our whole backyard by hand and planted from then on out to teach me how to garden. And I
Wow.
was maybe 5 or 6 years old when that happened. So, yeah,
You inspired your mom. Good job.
exactly. Thank you so much, Joe, for that super chat, and Kevin for the membership. That was so sweet of you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm thankful to be here. I'm happy to be able to do that.
I don't know who got the membership, but whoever it is, I'm sure they're thrilled.
P&J's Homestead, yeah.
Oh,
P&J
that's
Homestead, awesome.
congratulations.
Yeah, I can't remember for the life of me what we grew when I was in school. So I was born, raised, and grew up in Toronto, which obviously is a world-class city. And whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know. But I'm assuming that the budgets that they would have had would have exceeded most others. Just which means that like we were forced to take home economics classes, so I had to learn to sew. We literally made our own tracksuit in the 8th grade. We had cooking classes. We had to learn to cook and to bake simple things, put an egg in the middle of a piece of toast and make those cornflake peanut butter things, but simple stuff, right? And then wood shop we had as well. But I remember our science classes when we'd grow a few things, and I can't remember what we grew, but they'd give us one of those styrofoam cups, some kind of a bean, I think it was, that would sprout. And I remember vaguely, of course, but I remember doing the smallest amount. And then I was lucky to have my parents have a garden in the backyard. And our job was basically to keep the dog from running into the garden. But they had grown a bunch of different stuff. I think they had zucchini and cucumbers and tomatoes. And my dad said he had corn. I didn't remember, but occasionally they'd send us out to get the stuff. But I just, as a young lad, didn't take interest in that. I wanted to hurry up and get back to the TV and video games, as you can imagine. But now, today, of course, being older, I wish I'd taken more interest at the time, but I'm very thankful. Like I keep saying it, but because we've got so many friends willing to help on top of the information that they already post, right? Like I'm very lucky. Most of you know Tuber Chat. I think almost every channel here is probably a friend already, or the 90%. But I'm very lucky as the host of Tuber Chat to get messages from people and thoughts about, hey, if you need help with anything, let me know. Whereas it's really hard for the host of any channel to be able to reach out to every viewer that they have, but I'm lucky in that way. But I think it's great that we have so many people willing to teach so many things. Obviously, I can do just about anything with a computer. So when people need help with that, that's what I plan to help with. If we could ever grow plants with a computer, maybe that would be my thing. But otherwise, when we talk about nature, when we talk about the outdoors, this is why I put so much focus on it during my speeches. I was a Boy Scout, and this and that. I can start a fire and I can, probably survive for a day or two in the wilderness. But I don't focus on that kind of thing. So I rely on our friends, especially I see what everybody's doing for each other with the tips and the tricks, helping each other avoid mistakes. So somebody like me, for instance, if I was to dig a hole in the ground and start planting something, I would have a head start over so many other people before YouTube was around, because you all are able to share the idea. Hey, Kevin, use this kind of shovel. Here's what we do with the soil. Here's the kind of things you can compost. Right. And I just, again, I keep using the word grateful, but I truly am for what everybody's doing for each other and what I've been able to learn so far, and knowing that there's just an endless encyclopedia worth of knowledge that you all are providing.
I want to think that because of all the channels that you do watch, that the information that's in your head is probably like, wow.
Well, the funny thing, I understand what you say, but what I describe to people is like it's no different than anybody else. So for the YouTube channels that you watch, the hosts, what everybody does. It's the same thing for me. I just happen to be very focused in that area right now. Another way I could probably put it is, so I used to be a DJ. in a past life for a very long time. And so somebody would say, how do you remember all the music? My friends would play a game when I was about 18, 19 years old. They'd play one note of one song and I'd pick it off like that. I say, yeah, but my CD collection or record collection is the same as yours, just larger. So I know what I have the same way you know what you have, but you have other things that you know so much about. So for instance, like, yeah, I get to know a lot about channels. I don't know nearly as much as I wish I did about everybody, but it comes over time. Same thing as what you're teaching on your YouTube channel. You know so much more. And even to watch 3 videos in a row, I would say, I can't believe how much there is to know, let alone how much you actually are able to share with people.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'd like to welcome in McKay, Wilma 2U1, Tiffany with Canadian Family Life, Jamie's Country Living, Life in the Piedmont, that's Tina, Ruby with Rushing Wind Mountain, Dee's Garden Adventures, and Language of Horses is a new channel to me. Welcome in, welcome in. Jaden has a question for Kevin. Are you starting tutorials on Tuber Chat soon?
Yes. Jaden's been a friend of well over 3 years. We know each other well. But yeah, so actually, thank you for asking, Jaden. And in the spirit of self-promotion, yeah, I do have exciting things planned very shortly on YouTube. I know I've been barking up that tree for a long time. But right after our 4-year anniversary, which is next month, and episode 700, if you can believe it, is coming up. It's literally 700 episodes of Tuber Chat, and Pete's been there for almost all 700, actually. But right after that, I expect to have some tutorials that will truly help. So not just the motivation behind all the things that we do with our YouTube channels, but here's how to get started with Nightbot. Let me show you exactly how I use it on all of the channels that I run. Here's how to share on Twitter. Here's how to share on Facebook. And then here's how to automate it so that you don't have to do the same work over and over and over again. And you can have your views and subscribers grow exponentially. So that's the plan. And I've enlisted a bunch of help. So right after another month from now, there should be brand new content, much different than what we're doing. And we'll keep the live streams going the way we have for the last 3.5 years.
That sounds amazing. I think
it really does.
A lot of people.
Y'all, Kevin has a wealth of information in his head. So y'all ask the questions, put it in caps so that I will make sure that I see it. And we can ask Kevin questions about anything YouTube, but he likes talking about all this other stuff too. I'm sure he gets bored with just the Tuber Chat stuff. We are thrilled that Kevin had an opportunity to come on here. And Miss Heather, I'm so excited that you're here too, because you are a new friend of mine. And I just am absolutely learning so much from you and so many other channels. We can't learn it all ourselves, and we don't know it all ourselves, but we can learn from one another, which is one of the reasons I think our community works so well together, is we're willing to share that information and help one another out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me up here and with the Tuber Chat creator. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I just happened to fall into social media right in the beginning. So when the internet came out, I was right away drawn to it. I couldn't believe, like we can talk to people in other parts of the world. I could see the change. It was obvious. It's not like I have any insight. It's just that even as a 14, 15-year-old kid, I could understand the impact that the internet was going to have. So, for instance, my parents bought a family computer. I forget if probably when I was entering high school, 14, 15 years old. And I bought the modem for the computer. And then, I used to work as a really young kid. I loved the idea of making money in any way at all. And so I would ask my mother, can you put my AOL and CompuServe on your credit card? And, I was on both of them. And then when websites came out, I did websites for people for at least 10 years, as well as every social media platform that's come out since then. I've probably been on or connected to most of them. And I'm just fascinated still to this day. So what that allows me to do is, first of all, when I landed on YouTube, I knew we would be able to be good at this. The idea is that every piece of work that we do here helps the work before it and the work after it. Almost everything we do is evergreen content, no matter how we look at it. So I often describe we're building a catalog of content now with all of, like, any channel at all, but let's say our homesteading and gardening and farming channels. Anybody can go and say, like, well, I need a wealth of information, but it's all there. And they can find creators that they like. They can find paths that they like. And, some homesteading channels will bring us more indoor content. They take us in the kitchen. They do a lot of canning and prepping. They show us what happens after the gardening. Then we've got a lot of gardening channels or homesteading channels that head outdoors to show us how to fight off the predators, the animals, the bugs and different things, because different in every part of the world too, right? So somebody, in the northern states might have different a different fight on the other side of the fence from our friends in the southern United States. But when we think about the fact that there are creators all the way along, then we can find the subtle differences as well. And I think that's what's really going to help a lot of people more than anything else. Similarly to, if I can try to tie these things in together, when I talk about all the social media networks, the reason why we're able to do what we do on YouTube is because of what we've seen from all the other social networks before it, not to mention a little bit of human psychology, right? Understanding the way that people think. And forgive my long speech, but I also used to do a lot of offline promotion. So as a DJ, I worked in nightclubs and things like that. So not only do I know what it's like to say, hey, come and watch all of our videos. You can watch them all today, tomorrow, all in a row. I also know what it's like to have to get hundreds of people to a location at 7 p.m. on Friday and say, if you miss it, that's it. It's a one-time event. So these things married together hopefully help with what we talk about with our YouTube channels. And then the content is the driver for just about everybody here with all the different channels and the things we're either teaching or entertaining with, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And, Wilma said something out there. She said that, she was bedridden, I think, for a couple of years, and YouTube, she made friends through YouTube. And I think that is just wonderful that she's been able to do that. See, that's one of the reasons I keep driving myself to put out the content, because I do have people out there that are homebound and not able to get out and do things for themselves. And this gives them a type of entertainment and a personal one-on-one with a person that they may not meet personally. And I've met so many wonderful people from all over the world.
Right. Yeah, I know I have somebody on my channel that I've known for a really, really long time who can't get out anymore and do the things and enjoy seeing, all the stuff. So
it's wonderful that we have a live aspect to a lot of what we're doing as well. So another lesson was from a couple of the companies here that are the monster media companies, Bell and Rogers. Even our American friends probably know those company names. So these two got together, and they're head-to-head competitors in every way. But they went together to buy Toronto Maple Leaf Sports. I forget the exact name of the company, but they own a lot of the sporting events and media, including television, radio, and everything else. And the lesson was, because they understand that in the future, starting now, live is going to be the thing. Anybody can watch a video afterwards, but there's nothing like watching it live. Nobody wants to hear a sports score tomorrow, like people used to, videotape a hockey game or a baseball game and then watch it a day or two later and ask their friends not to tell them. Now we don't want that anymore. We want now. I want to be there. I want to hear about it. And if I can't watch the game, I want to score on my phone as it happens. I want a notification. And this kind of thing means that these companies have put millions, if not billions of dollars into the idea of live, because they understand that live is where it's at. It doesn't matter if we're just sitting at home talking, having conversation driven by the chat, or if we're outside doing something that is an event-based production, let's just say for a live stream. But I think that really helps. And the connection that people can not just feel they have, but truly have with each other when we conversate in the chat with the hosts on the screen and things like that. This is how a lot of us are getting to know each other. Susan and I now have known each other. It's probably got to be well over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
She was one of the first homesteading channels to come in the Tuber Chat family. But this is the first time we're on a screen together, but many times. She's been in Tuber Chat a million times. I've been in her live streams many times as well. This is how the connection can start and build, but there's nothing like it. Right. So I don't want to put a focus. I know we all have YouTube channels here, or most of us. Of course, videos drive a channel, but live streams can really drive connection, if that makes sense, and make that connection a bit deeper.
Wilma said that the lives seem more connected. And so I agree because we connect with those that are chatting in our chat, and we're communicating with one another, and communication is key. I don't care what genre or walk of life. If you don't communicate with one another, it's just going to be a one-sided conversation, and we don't want that.
Yeah, it is kind of weird making videos and talking to yourself, although you're recording for everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier when you're talking with somebody.
It can be, yes. So when people talk, for instance, about the idea of live streaming and not having done it yet, what I describe often is, sometimes people might wonder, well, what am I going to talk about, right? Because they don't think that they speak in the same way as the people that they watch. How am I going to keep the conversation going? Because I'm going to turn on the camera, and if you don't ask me like why the wall is white, I got nothing else to talk about. But the chat always drives conversation. Always, always, always. They will ask you something. They will say, what's behind you? Why are you wearing a green shirt today? What did you do yesterday? How's the weather in your area? And it just takes off after that. Many times we have creators that do a live stream for the first time. It goes on for hours.
I got asked a question on one of the lives. What are you sitting on? Well, I have a cover over our chair because we have dogs and a cat that sheds profusely. So we want to keep the furniture semi-clean, and it gets washed weekly. And it's an ongoing battle around here. But yeah, they'll ask you all kinds of questions, and be, responsive, and tell them, don't hold back. Just tell them. I get questions all the time. I get people that email me questions, and I don't mind answering those. I want that. I want that feedback.
Well,
so Dee's Garden Adventure asked in the chat if I happen to have any hobbies. Myself, I'd only have to say music. Otherwise, I'm lucky. It's not that I'm a workaholic exactly. I just love most of what I do, most of what I've always done. So I tend to be, working, if we want to call it that, most of the time. But that makes me curious. So thank you, Dee's Garden Adventures for the question. But Heather and Susan, what do you have for hobbies outside of, let's say, your YouTube channels then?
Oh, I crochet, I sew, I'm an artist. I do puppetry. I got my Mr. Skittles with me. I brought him along. I was hoping that Rudy would show up. I got to get him on my hand first. But this is Mr. Skittles. I actually made the hat for our children's church at church years ago. And Mr. Skittles is always into something mischievous, and he is a silent puppet. He only talks to me, but he has all kinds of stuff hidden in his hat, like cards.
Oh, goodness.
That's fun for the kids, for sure.
I want to welcome in Marketplace Boutique, Miss Jody. I missed her a while ago, so forgive me for missing you. But
Heather, what about you?
Me?
Have you got hobbies that we don't know about?
I do all kinds of things. I do lots of arts and crafts. Like that's an old window that I
Right?
fixed up, and
Yeah.
just sewing, and I do a million things.
Oh, really?
I
Busy all the time.
Yeah, I recently made a ton of sourdough starter and dehydrated it. Now I have to powder it and get it sealed. So
Awesome.
just lots and lots of projects. I have all kinds of houseplant starts. I'm getting ready to do my starts inside for my garden. So
I think one of my biggest hobbies is thrifting. I love to go thrift store shopping.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't like spending full price in a store. And if I can buy something secondhand that is usable, I'm saving it from a landfill. So just about everything in my house, except for maybe the armoire back here, were secondhand. The china cabinet was actually given to us by a friend whose husband built that. And we were so grateful to get that. So I don't mind thrifted items at all. And I share that on my videos. Of course, that's my one pleasure each week is I get to go out and do a little bit of shopping without breaking the bank.
Absolutely. Well, it's important today.
I like antiques too. I actually like watching shows where they do renovations.
Yes.
Like remodeling. Right now I'm watching a channel that's in France, and they're redoing a convent.
Oh.
And so it's amazing. Like the history on it is like 300 years old. So I like that, like the cobblestone roads.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that kind of history stuff. Curse of Oak Island.
That's wonderful.
Stuff like that.
I love the idea of stories behind things. So, we can use a million different words, secondhand, antique, and things like this. But I think when things are clean and well kept, but passed along, then I think it's wonderful. I love the idea of having different types of things where there truly is a story behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a romantic kind of thing, not in the traditional sense, but you know what I mean? When you can get taken away with the idea behind something and then carry it along. It's unfortunate. Somebody like myself, I see as life is going on, as I'm getting older, I'm getting more interested in history. I wish I cared a lot more when I was younger, but I think this happens traditionally, right? As most people get older, they start to look farther back in history to understand the stories behind a lot of different things, right? And I think even when we're going to thrift stores, garage sales, even often in auctions, I do a little bit of eBay work, like Marketplace Boutique helps us with as well. And it's incredible some of the things you can find from people. I love that stuff. I love the idea of it.
Well, it was neat. Last summer, I was gifted a treadle sewing machine. It's that foot pedal sewing machine from the early 1900s. Yeah. And the lady who gave it to me had used to live near where I live now. And the people that she got it from, because her and her husband had bought a house near me, and the people they bought the house from gave that machine to them, which was back in the 30s.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm assuming that those people that gave it to them were the original owners, and it makes you think, wow, where did it come from? Like, did they travel from some other country, or did they just buy it and it never left far from home? Really?
Yeah, wow.
Which is kind of cool to me.
You remind me of something. Yeah, my father's friend, my father's high school friend. We used to visit. I had my father's friends. I was really lucky. They'd all take interest in me. I'd call them uncle and stuff like this. We'd go over to their house every couple of months or whatever it was for dinner. And they had this thing. You'll remind me what the name is, because I can't remember for the life of me. And it's the machine with the pedals where they spin the huge wheel to make the yarn.
Yeah, spinning wheels.
Pardon me?
It's called a spinning wheel.
Oh, that, yeah.
My aunt actually had one on her front porch when I was growing up. I'd like to welcome in Nancy with Our Treasured Home, and Backyard Trucker, I believe, is new here. And there are 2 lives after mine today. My Alabama Life is going to have one at noon, and Life in the Piedmont, that's Miss Tina, is 1:30 Central Standard Time. That's my time. So y'all make sure you mark those. And I've made y'all a moderator so you can drop the links to those when it's about time for it to start, ladies, so you can get that out there. I'm plugging. I promise you. I believe in collecting and growing. That's one of the things that Kevin has taught us is don't be afraid to connect and grow your channels. And if y'all want to leave my channel and go watch them, that's perfectly fine with me. I understand that. But I do appreciate each and every one of you that come through the live every week. It's such a blessing.
It's one of the magical things about YouTube is the idea that now, even though I mentioned it earlier, we're not offline. You don't have to show up at 7 o'clock on Friday or miss it. You know, we can watch each other's stuff one after the other. The other thing, too, is when you start to think about the human nature of viewers, right? And that can include us, creators as well. Anybody who's watching anything on YouTube, you know, not everybody can sit and has the time or ability to watch a 45-minute or 3-hour live stream and things like that. So you know already, and forgive me, it goes without saying, but you know already that people are coming in and out all the time. So you can make a choice, in my opinion, in the beginning to say you're not going to get upset when people only watch 2 minutes of your 45-minute video, even though they said they wanted to watch it, that kind of thing. And so you know that people are coming in and out all the time. Sometimes they're going to intend on leaving and coming right back, but, you know, something comes up right in that second, and then they're not back. So knowing that, you can just be happy with the viewers that we have for the length of time we have them. And you get to know that you get the additional benefit of the idea that when somebody is watching something else and either gets distracted or something comes up, you get the benefit of that viewer now because they weren't stuck somewhere else for 45 minutes or 3 hours or what have you. There's plenty to go around, you know. And then the other idea that I like to talk about all the time is when you think, and this goes for everybody, but when you think about who are your top 10 supporters, or if you want to call it friends that are on YouTube that you run into all the time, you know they care about you, you care about them also. Why wouldn't you want an 11th and a 12th one and a 13th one? And, you know, and it continues so that you have such an overwhelming, truly family around you that it is like overwhelming to even keep up with. Because I promise then when you get to a point with your YouTube channel, and this goes for anybody who's just starting, especially when you get to a point that you're following so many other people that you can't be there. I would love to be in Susan's live stream every Wednesday at 11 Eastern, but I can't be there every week. So I know she's grateful for any time that anybody can spend. And then you just realize, okay, you know, I've got 2 friends that go on Wednesday at 11 a.m. So I'm going to have to go in one today, the other one next week, the other one next week, the other, because you can always watch the replays. And there's lots of ways to support each other, even outside. Even if you can't watch a video, there's no reason we can't share it. Most of you know that I share tons of stuff on Reddit. And the only reason why is because Reddit is fast and easy to share. It's just another social network. There is a possibility that you can get found by the links that you share on Reddit. I've heard that, especially from gaming channels, but it brings in a tiny sliver of traffic. We all know that every view matters, every minute matters. But there's lots of ways to support each other, even word of mouth, even talking to people about channels. I'm usually not even on YouTube on Fridays. I got other obligations. I can't be here. So I set up my community posts in advance when I do have 15 minutes or a half an hour, so that there's lots of possibility for sharing and helping others, even when you can't be right in their video that day. And we all understand nobody can watch everything. It's just impossible.
Right. Yeah.
Dee, I understand feeling overwhelmed. I had to back off a few days just to regroup myself. So don't be afraid to back off when you need to. That's why I drop videos in advance. So if I need a day, I can take the day and just kind of clear my head, because it can become very overwhelming.
Absolutely. I promise you, this goes for everybody. All the things that get to you, they get to me too. I promise you. It may not appear like it. I don't know I don't know what it's like for everybody to have to listen to me, especially for 3 hours at a time. But I happen to be extremely sensitive. I wish I wasn't, but it's been there my whole life. And things get to me just as much as anybody. There is truth to the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And when I first started on YouTube almost 7 years ago now, I didn't know what trolling was. I'd never experienced that in the history of the internet. The only people who ever said anything terrible about me were literally attacking something I'd either said or done. So that made sense. But when trolling came around and people are just hammering you for no reason at all, I had somebody in the very beginning just go like right off on me. You're a scam artist and everything else. And I literally had to sit there for a second and say, wait a second, am I a scam artist? Because they're really getting to me. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't even want to look at YouTube today. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to look at it. I'll be fine tomorrow. But if I stay today and get angry, something bad could happen. Let me just walk away for a second and I'll be right back. And if you're not back, it's fine too. But at least having that in your mind gives you the idea that, like, hey, we can all come right back. And there's nothing wrong with taking a breather. No different than having an argument with a real life family member. I hope nobody's had to go through too much of the terrible stuff, but I promise you, I've had as many arguments in my life as anybody. And we all know that it's better to just walk away, calm down, come right back. You'll be fine. And not to mention, you need your strength, and that includes mental as well as physical and everything else, to be able to provide the things you want to on YouTube. It doesn't matter whether it's educational, informative, or entertaining. Even if you have a channel that's simply meant to entertain people, even if your videos are just silly, you know what I mean? And it's just to give people some comic relief in their life, there's value in that. And so basically the idea is we need you. Whatever you're doing with your YouTube channel, somebody out there needs you. And it's more than one person. Lots of people need that kind of either relief or information, and we have to be strong so that we can help other people if that's what we want to do, if that makes sense.
I'd like to welcome in Beverly Moffitt. And Kevin, you're right. You have to be like a duck on the surface and paddling like heck underneath. That's my little motto.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, exactly like Wilma said.
Absolutely.
You never know if you're helping some. Exactly.
I was on an interesting live stream not too long ago with a girl named Charlene Heel, who's been a friend of about 3 years on YouTube. She had an interesting live stream because she was talking about the mistakes that we all make in our YouTube journey. So I didn't know what to expect. I mean, she said, hey, you want to do a live stream together? And I'm like, yeah, whatever you want to do, of course. But it was interesting that she happened to take that approach, because there are so many things that can be helpful. If somebody could just know that somebody else has been through it also, you're not alone. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy, Kevin, wow, he really can talk for 3 hours. And I appreciate the kind words. I know people say, like, yeah, Kevin, you explain things well, have a nice way of speaking. But that's because I came from radio. I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of speaking in front of crowds and on microphones before I ever got to YouTube. So That's just lucky. And I have a million things to say. I never seem to stop talking for some reason. But it's interesting to be able to say to people with absolute truth and honesty, I make as many mistakes as anybody, even today. sometimes more. In our Tuber Chat streams, Scratch and PPA catches me probably every single stream missing something. And, that's why I say Tuber Chat couldn't be what it was with what it is without our moderator. Scratch and PPA, of course, a shining jewel in the community. But if somebody could know that they're not alone with the mistakes, because we've all done things, I'm sure, that make us think, oh my God, how could I do something so ridiculous? You know what I mean? I should have known better. Why don't I learn this lesson? At over 50 years old now, why do I have to continuously tell myself to stop doing these things? Why do I keep doing it? So we can absolutely help people when we can have the humility as well. And you all do it. That's the thing. Our homesteading, gardening, farming, ranching, and outdoor channels do a lot of that. They talk about, hey, I tried to grow this thing. I should have known better. I did something else. And, now a friend of mine told me how to fix this problem. And I'm kind of amazed at how everybody can help each other in that way and have the humility naturally without being told to say, it's okay. You can not just be yourself, but talk about the things that you've done that are ridiculous. Talk about the things that you think will help somebody, even though you don't want to say it out loud, and things like that. So I don't know how much that makes sense, but I'm just saying, right?
Well, I want to say one thing. There's a lot of narcissistic people out there, and if you get one of them on your channel, the best thing you can do is just heart them and move on. Don't even pay attention to what they say, because they are out there attacking channels. Homestead Tessie and her husband just did a video not too long ago where they had been viciously attacked. And there are actually channels out there that will mock your channel and say that you're fake and all kinds of things. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about what they're saying or doing, because in the end, what you're doing and saying is going to resonate with the people more than what they're doing on the sidelines. So that's just from years of being on the internet and social media. But you're going to have to get a little bit of a tough skin sometimes when it comes to people like that. And I'd like to welcome in Chris Sherry Babies. So thank you so much for coming in.
So pardon me, because I just want to add to what you're saying. When we talk about the idea of trolling and some of the vicious activity, it can be overwhelming. And one of the reasons why is because the ones who are the best at it, they do things like they get to know your name, right? So they'll get to know Susan from Hillbilly Chicken Ranch, and they'll say, oh, well, Susan, this and that. And they know how to push the buttons. But once you've been on here long enough or talk to enough people about that kind of thing, and I don't want everybody to focus on negativity, but you know what I mean, you will see the same behavior and even the same language, the same different things said in the chats. The names change, the channels change, but once you realize that, hey, this person's getting trolled or I'm getting trolled, but wait a second, somebody else that's not connected to any of us is doing the exact same thing to somebody else in some other genre, then you're like, oh, wait a second, this is just behavior. So the reason why I can say that this kind of thing happens here and why we have to deal with it, unfortunately, when you think about life, a young child going to school for the first time, if the child cannot mentally handle the academic program they're entering, they're processed in a different way and put into other programs that are better suited for them and their learning behavior, let's just say. If an adult goes to get employment and can't mentally handle the job, they don't get the job. They're processed in another way. But on the internet, everybody can participate and act any way that they want. A lot of the trolling you're going to find, I mean, sometimes it amazes me how many older adults seem to be engaging in that kind of behavior as well. But we have to know that there's got to be some kind of misery in life that's caused this negativity or other mental ideas. But a lot of times it's younger people who are just unsupervised. And, if their parents knew what they were doing, and the biggest problem is possibly their parents don't care enough to know what they're doing. And this is what causes the behavior. When we think about that, it might be possible for us to say, wow, this really, it doesn't have to do with me. because I promise you, when they learn about your name or they catch some detail about something that you happen to have, if you had, we sometimes have these things behind us like this coffee mug, right? You see these things all the time. If I had a coffee mug and it happened to be from a school or a college or something I'd been through before, an organization, somebody might be able to pick that off. It's like, Kevin, I remember you when I was in school. I used to beat you up every day. Well, now I'm going to sit there and I'm going to think, wait a second, is this somebody from school? Oh my God, I don't remember and that's, this is the way that they can get to you, but they're not. They do it all day and all night. And again, I don't mean to focus on it so much. What I just want to let everybody know is that if you experience a little bit of trolling or see somebody who does, I promise you it's just a part of the game. And my best suggestion for everybody is to ignore it. I know it can be overwhelming. It can be like tear jerking and far beyond that, completely. But the worst of the worst dissipates within about a couple of weeks. It can feel like an eternity, but I promise you it will disappear. And for 90% of the channels or more that I've seen get trolled badly and quit, they're back in 2 weeks. It happens almost every time. I could almost bet on it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Ignoring can be difficult, and that relates to the moderators and the tone of the conversation in your channel as well. But if you can just try to overlook it, in my opinion, that's the best idea. We don't want to send trolls to anybody else. But the sad truth is that if you ignore them long enough, they will go somewhere else where they get a reaction. And then at least they're not with you anymore. Eventually they find each other and then they can all fight it out. And you'll see that happens too. But
Yeah.
I want to welcome in my mentor, because Homestead Tessie is the reason I started my channel. So welcome in, Tessie. I appreciate you coming in. I know you're very, very busy, but if you ever have an opportunity and want to be on my live, please let me know. I would love to have you. There's also, we're giving away those free memberships. And one of the channels actually had a free membership go to somebody that they had blocked. So I told them that they needed to reach out to YouTube and allow them to know that. But be aware that might happen, and just reach out to YouTube and let them know that it's happening. And also, Kristen Wilton, welcome in. Welcome in. I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
We have Kevin K with Tuber Chat and Heather with Milk and Honey Heritage Farms on our panel today.
Yep, I completely agree on that. I've watched and seen a lot of people or heard about people having to deal with that kind of situation, and it's good to have, like you said earlier, your community of people that you see around, the people that always show up, that you can talk to, and they can help pass by the time that you're dealing with some sort of situation, hopefully.
Yeah, it's always important to build a community around you with like-minded channels, so that you can have somebody to bounce ideas off of. If you're having problems, they can pray with you, or you might have an area that you have a need and you don't know how to do something, and they can explain it to you. So build that community around you.
So thank you also. So I mentioned to people all the time that I learn every single day from people with channels of all sizes. But even today, even right this second, Susan, you're able to clarify something that I've wondered about. I had not heard yet about a troll getting a membership gifted to them, but now we know that it can be possible. So in my opinion, the best idea as well is always you can ban in the background. You don't have to ban in your chat. And you have to make a decision, because sometimes because somebody has something negative to say doesn't mean that they're necessarily a troll. So you have to think about that. But what you can do is go to somebody's front page. And if you go into the About section, there's a flag there that says Report User. it's not actually reporting them. You can choose to do that, but otherwise you just hide them from your channel or grab their URL and do it in the background. But I find it most effective to ban channels when necessary in the background and not right there in the chat, because then, you know, they don't actually know 100% for sure that something has gone wrong. And unless they're going to come in with 15 more accounts and stuff like that, they'll just take off and not know. YouTube's changed a lot as well, so it's very possible for somebody to have been banned on a channel and not know. They just think everybody's ignoring them because nobody sees their messages once they've been banned. I try to do it in the background even when I'm live streaming. I'm very lucky. You know, we all are, because YouTube has given us a couple of tools that help with this. When you think about the attention span of a lot of creators, you'll notice on Tuber Chat, people can't come into the chat unless they've watched for 20 minutes, which most people would say that's ridiculous. You're going to lose people. And I promise you, I do. I lose a lot of people. But you know instinctively that means only people who know what we're doing, have sat there and watched without being able to engage for 20 minutes, only those people are going to get in. Right? But for trolls and people who are just out acting mischievous and don't have an attention span like that, you can dial up and dial down those settings as much as you want. And then, you know, moderators help and things like that as well.
Yeah, and sometimes I've even gotten comments on a few of my videos where I wasn't quite sure how to take it. Like I didn't know if it was one way or another.
Yeah.
So I just respond in a positive way. And it seems to work out, but you know, sometimes it doesn't, I guess.
All of these technologies are tough. We've probably all been in a situation where we've either messaged somebody or texted somebody outside of YouTube. Could be a loved one, could be a friend or anything. And then have somebody either get upset or say, like, what do you mean by that? You're like, yeah, well, there's no tone of voice to go with the sentence I just typed. And the same goes on YouTube. I have to, every time I find something that gets to me, I have to stop and think, like, wait a second, am I reading this right? Or is it possible that somebody meant something differently? And I've had to stop myself a couple times from, like, you know, attacking somebody who I thought was being negative, realizing, no, they're just asking a question. And that's, you know, there's when no tone of voice can come with it, it can be detrimental to act too quickly.
Yeah, I've had trolls come in and they would type words out. I mean, one letter at a time. We got rid of those trolls. I had actually, my stalker was a lifelong friend.
Oh.
And she came on and she was saying all kinds of ugly things about me.
Oh, goodness.
And she is one of those narcissistic people. And so that friend, she had already ended the friendship anyway. So I just went ahead and blocked her. I said, I'm not dealing with this. So you just have to set barriers around yourself to protect yourself. Don't take it personally. Even Christ tells us in the Bible that if they come and attack you, they're attacking me. So it's not you, it's him. So with that mindset, I can say that because I'm a Christian, I believe that. And I'm going to give it over to God and let God deal with that person. Doesn't mean I don't pray for them. I do. And prayer is power for us. Welcome in, Alfonso. I see he finally made it in.
Yeah.
Our talented friend.
So I always, sometimes when I'm texting in conversations and stuff and I say something, I'm always like, I hope that sounds like what I meant it to sound. Because sometimes it's hard to put your words in sentences.
Almost every day I'm typing and then stopping it and retyping, especially if I'm trying to use Siri, right? So driving, if I feel like I absolutely must give somebody a message, I can, you know, we can all use Siri to just, or Alexa or whatever, what have you, to just say, like, here, say this thing to this person. And I think we all know how much they get it wrong as well. You're like, no, don't say that. Okay, just wait. I'll wait half an hour when I'm parked. I'll sit there and
when you text chat or whatever that thing is.
They're right.
Yeah.
I type wrong all the time on my cell phone. I have fat fingers. I blame it on my fingers.
Yeah.
I blame it because I'm always going so fast, and my fingers usually sometimes type the letter next to it, or it decides to change it to the word it thinks it should be.
You would be shocked. I took a typing class. It was literally like keyboarding 101 in ninth or 10th grade. And we were too busy, like just kind of playing around in the class to actually get good at what we were doing. And I really wish I paid attention. So now I can type lightning fast, but I did not learn proper form. So I make mistakes constantly. And if somebody was to sit there and listen to me, they would go out of their mind at how many times I hammer that backspace key because I've got to retype everything. And the same goes for the phone. No matter how much we use it, it's been now between 10 and 20 years for most of us with some of these things. And still as many mistakes as anybody. Even today, even in our, most of you use StreamYard. Those of you who live stream, and in the background, the host and the guest can send each other messages. I misspelled Susan's name as soon as I walked in to the chat today. It happens every single day, I promise you. This is where I joke all the time. I make as many mistakes as anybody. And the reason why I say it is so that everybody who's listening who might feel like they make more mistakes than most people will realize, no, actually, you probably don't. And I find the biggest mistakes come from rushing. But whether it's typing, whether it's like trying to get Siri to do what I ask, or anything else, I promise you, mistakes are par for the course, no matter how many there are.
Yeah.
I want to welcome in Corner Clubhouse Cabolt. I forgot him, I think, and Lisa J. Stocks. And yeah, I'm one of those that types so fast that I don't pay attention a lot of times, and it'll come out all gibberish.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to hurry up and respond because you're trying to be respectful or kind or whatever. And then you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's a few times it said something that shouldn't be said. And I'm like, no.
I didn't mean to say that, but it's perfectly okay. You can misspell my name anytime, Kevin. I don't mind. Just don't call me late for supper.
Pardon me?
Just don't call me late for supper.
Yes, there you go. I'm sorry, I caught a question here from Homestead Tessie just asking, do trolls know they're being mean, or are they just that way? And it's interesting that you say that, so thank you for that, because for the record, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. However, we also know that there are things out there like sociopathic behavior, as well as narcissistic behavior and things like that. Once in a while, you meet somebody that's got both going on. But the problem, I think, comes down to whether or not that kind of thing is helped or can be helped, right? And like I said, on the internet, anybody can participate and act in any way that they want. Not to mention, people have different personas. It is very possible for somebody to, if they're very careful, have an account, act completely as we would expect, or dare I say the word normal, and then have a second account where they just come back in because they can't help themselves and act ridiculous, right? And say horrible things. So I think a lot of times there are people who do the activities that we would call trolling that actually don't know. They don't know the wrong in what they're doing. And some of it is extreme. I tell a story all the time, and forgive me because I tend to hijack conversations this way. I had a girl in the first year of Tuber Chat actually fake her death. She was a part of our community and started to, was as supportive as anybody else. And, put herself right there, like live streams or StreamYard or what have you and everything else. And not too long after, literally, I got duped. I skipped an episode of Tuber Chat. One thing I forget to say all the time, when I talk about 700 episodes of Tuber Chat, which we're almost there, every single one is there. There's not one that's missing, never been shut down, never been, any of that stuff. But I keep forgetting that one of them is not there because I made a tribute video for this girl who I thought had passed away. And I laugh about it now because it's, it's so far in the past and it's ridiculous that I could get duped in that way, I feel. But I actually saw the girl again just last week, just a couple of weeks ago on a live stream, and I couldn't believe it. Now, I would only guess, but if I was to happen to run into that person and be able to get some kind of a psychoanalysis, my guess would be that they don't understand the wrong that they're doing, because that is like just out of control. You know what I mean? To insert yourself into people's existence or lives, or however we want to put it, and then do something so extreme. But that's a true story, and an embarrassment, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I think you can have ones that don't know it and ones that do know it. You can have ones that can't control it. All kinds of things you just never know, and you don't need to figure it out.
That's true. That's very true.
And we can just say a trigger word. You know, there's people out there with PTSD.
Run.
Say a trigger word, and it will trigger them. I want to welcome in Creative Beauty Butterfly and Antoinette the Poet. Thank you for coming in, my friends. I'm so excited to have Kevin Kay with us and Heather with Milk and Honey Heritage Farms.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, thank you again for having us both. This is super fun, but I knew it would be a friendly, casual conversation because Susan obviously is so warm and welcoming, but we've got this history, even Milk Honey Heritage Farms with Heather, we've been connected also now for a long period of time. But it's great when we can all get together in different things like that. That goes for anybody. I love when people are collaborating because it's a different type of content that's going to come out when we're, conversating between ourselves, inspiring ideas between each other. And, some of these stories that otherwise would have been forgotten, they just come up in our natural conversation, right? But hopefully we find it helpful, if not entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been wonderful getting to know people and their personalities, and it's been a great experience.
Well, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, sorry. The number one thing that people tell me is their favorite part of their YouTube journey is the friendships that are made along the way. And it would make sense because when you think about something like travel is a wonderful thing that many people aspire to. But when you travel and somebody says like, oh, how was your trip? One of the first things that people will say is, oh, we met these wonderful people on our trip, right? If you think about that, it makes sense the way that we say that here.
Right.
Yeah. Tessie says, I'm guessing it's sometimes an addiction to the drama. It absolutely is.
For sure.
There are people out there that crave that drama.
Well, so as much as I believe that there are some people who don't know the wrong that they do and they do it anyway, there are people who are very clear. They know that they are doing wrong. They're out. They actually name their channel, like I'm a horrible person or something like that, to let you know, not only are they happy with it, but proud of it. But, when people put up red flags like that, it's easy to see, and then you can hopefully learn to just let it roll off your shoulder. Some people take it easier than others in the beginning, but hopefully stories like this help as well. Because, when the last time I had somebody like say something threatening in a chat, I said, listen, it's not my first death threat. I'm sure I'll be fine, because it's true. Right. And you don't want to taunt them. I never want to encourage anybody to taunt them. I can tend to, give smart replies to a lot of different things. And I wouldn't, I like sarcasm, and I know not everybody does. Disengagement and ignoring is the best idea. But once you've heard some of these stories 2 or 3 times, you're going to realize, wow, yeah, somebody that they're not even talking about. I've seen that, before myself. And then you realize it's just nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I was going to say, I enjoy doing the lives. That's more relaxing. Having guests on, for me, that's more relaxing than me just up here being the talking head. I really am enjoying talking with Kevin and Heather today. Y'all, you've made my day. I can't tell you how much. And having Miss Tessie in the chat along with everybody else is just mind-blowing. But I'm truly, truly blessed by the friendships that we've made. And somebody said it in chat. I'm going to repeat it. Sometimes YouTube family is more family than our own family.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start to feel that, I know some people here in the chat might be just starting out, But I promise you, there is going to be a day for everybody if you just stay long enough to get, let's say, your 1,000 subscribers or something like that. You will have friends that care so much about you that they will point out things that you otherwise may not have seen. Some things you might know about, some things you might not. They will look for you when you're missing. They will hear simple things like somebody can just hear your voice and say, like, oh, are you feeling under the weather right now? Because they pay attention that much. They truly care that much for you, and I have been extremely blessed myself to have creators who have literally put themselves out there when they have seen some of the horrible things that have gone on to reach out to me, knowing that like having trust that could turn right back on them, to let me know things that will be helpful to the Tuber Chat family and have shown me care far beyond anything I can describe. You know what I mean? When we too much we're talking about negative today. I don't mean to dwell on negativity, but that can show you the extreme positivity in creators when they're willing to either ignore that or come looking for you and help you with their channel to say, hey, I noticed something that I otherwise could have ignored, but I wanted to bring this to your attention so that it can be helpful, not just to you, but to other people, if that makes sense. But I've been lucky to have that happen more than a handful of times over the last many years. People who have really, really, really gone over and above anything I would expect to show their care for both me and for us,
Yeah, that's so true. And we do feel it, we feel that love and that connection with our people that are out there watching us, our friends or family. So we do feel that, and we can get extremely emotional over issues that come up. But I am so thankful that for the most part on my channel, I have had nothing but good responses from people. Now, I have had a few, that were kind of snarky, but I just smile and go on because either they're having a bad day or they're jealous. And I just go on. And I don't know what they're jealous about because I'm just me being me. And that's an everyday occurrence, and I can't change who I am. So it's a blessing that we can reach out when we have troubles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And be able to have like-minded people to talk to and to work through. And I do have a community of prayer warriors that I know personally that I can call up at any moment in time and say, hey, I had this happen today. Will you pray for me or pray for that person? So it's always nice to see that.
Yeah. You got to have a few people that definitely can help you out and notice, like Kevin was saying, notice when something's off or something's not right.
I want to say something about Tessie. Tessie is very, very down to earth. She lives her life. She is extremely happy. She has beautiful moments on her videos, and I enjoy just watching her. And I've learned a lot of things through Tessie. Tessie's actually younger than me, y'all, by about 10 years, I think. But I consider her a good friend because she is one of the like-minded people that we talked about earlier on, where she has similar ideas and ideals and morals. And so that comes across when she's on her camera. And she is not afraid to show you the everyday mundane things that we all have to do. And it motivates other people to do those things. So I'm very, very grateful for her.
Yeah, I've seen her videos a few times because I've heard a few people that I know talking about her. So I've watched a few of her videos, and she seems very sweet.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see that Chevy Man is getting involved a little bit. Her husband is like mine. He's camera shy.
cool. Yeah.
I'm always happy to hear, when we have creators who are enjoying any level of success, but obviously everybody can see the check mark. Homestead Tessie is somebody I've got to connect with. But it's wonderful to hear those kind of things when you say this person is, down to earth, level headed, and things like that, because you think to yourself, now, I promise you this, some of us in our communities together are going to go farther than like we expected in the beginning, right? And I'm talking 100,000 subscribers. Eventually, I'm not going to be surprised if there's going to be some of our creators getting to 1 million, and beyond. And then you think to yourself, but what are you going to be like to your community when you have 100,000? Hopefully, you're not going to change. What would have brought you to that 100,000 is the authenticity of your personality behind the channel in most cases. You know what I mean? I'm typically talking, our homesteading, ranching, farming, gardening friends in particular here, because you all have channels where you're on, you know what I mean? Where it's possible to do faceless channels and things like that. But hopefully everybody will keep that authentic part about them when they enjoy that kind of success. And I've had some friends who are doing extremely well, getting into the tens of thousands of subscribers. Now, I've got a few friends that are over 100,000 that are not part of the Tuber Chat family, but all level-headed, all down to earth, all just as helpful and human as anybody else. And it's heartwarming to see that. So I hope everybody aspires to something along those lines as well, to always want to continue to help and be helpful and inspiring.
Reach one, teach one.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah.
Tessie has a lot to offer, so I'm hoping she'll take me up on the offer to come be on one of my lives. She's been on here for 7 years. I've been watching her for at least 5, maybe 6. I can't remember. It's been a while. I don't know if I started commenting right away, but she just resonated with me so much. And she's a great channel for y'all to watch and learn from, especially in the gardening community, the homesteading community, because she has one of those from riches, they were wealthy and then they weren't, stories to tell. And she tells it very, very well. And, I've never had any money. I've never been rich. We've always had to scrape by with what we had. And so I learned that growing up, to make use of everything that we had. And if you didn't have it, you made it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons you see so much of that on my channel. And I want that to resonate with people out there, because there are a lot of people out there that struggle to get through the day. Some of them may not even have food on the table. And I think about that when I'm eating a meal or preparing a meal, that they may not even have that food available to them. So I'm always aware that there's other people less fortunate.
I just put out a muffin video, a banana bread muffin video yesterday, and that makes me feel bad.
Well, here's the thing. I think about that kind of thing as well. I mean, there are third world countries out there. There are a lot of people who are in circumstances that we can't imagine. But at the same time, because we do live in the societies that we do, there has to be a limit. You can't, people might get hung up on charity and say like, well, I should be giving 100% of my paycheck and taking a second job to give it to everybody. And wouldn't that be a wonderful world, right? But realistically, there are things we can do that can be so beneficial to other people. Somebody like myself, it's not that like, money is the end all be all of anything. And I promise you, I don't have any more than anybody else. But the idea is then if we can have impact with either the things that we say, the knowledge that we provide, or even with the money that we do make, and find a way to increase that so that we can turn around and have great impact, right? There are a lot of billionaires out there that have signed like the Giving Pledge. And I think it's wonderful because that didn't exist before our lifetime, where they had literally gotten together and pledged to give back the majority of what they had made when it comes to, just money itself. And I'm very lucky to have seen the impact that nonprofits and charities can have. There are lots of ways that we can contribute different types of things that can be helpful beyond what we would have expected. You know what I mean? So, we have to think about that as well.
Yeah.
But we also touch all of each other's lives with our YouTube channels and our ideas. So, for instance, yes, we do all live in a first world country. Those of us talking right now in either United States, Canada, UK, and other countries like that. And I celebrate Christmas. I'm lucky to be in a position. I will probably always have a Christmas tree. I will probably always have a Christmas dinner. But I promise you, I also thank God every single day for my family and for what we do have. But I will never look at a Christmas tree the same way again after watching Susan's video. Susan did a video, and I talk about this all the time just because I found it so impactful. Pete was there as well. We're in her premiere. So she was able to talk to us while the premiere was running, but she was going through every ornament on the tree, the story behind it. Some of the things are handmade, some of the things are collected over years and time, but it is something that can give you, if I was to say, there's a million videos out there that could impact us in a similar way, but maybe it can give us an idea as to a new way of looking at something. You know what I mean? Because when I saw that video from Susan, and I've told her repeatedly, but now when I look at the Christmas tree, I remember as a child the stories behind some of the ornaments, because everything on the tree is mismatched. And I remember that because, well, maybe I had an aunt that knitted or crocheted like something that's on the tree, right? Or maybe something had been given to somebody. It was the first thing that Kristen did when her and I got together. Kristen Welton, I'm not sure if she's in the chat right now. She's working, so she tried to peek in for a second. The first thing she did when we started dating each other, which was in the beginning of November 8 years ago, she bought an ornament for us for our Christmas tree that says Our First Christmas, and it goes on the tree every year. But we remember not just the ornament. Yes, we're lucky enough to have the a few dollars to buy an ornament to put on the tree. But then we're able to look at that and share that idea and even the story of it forever after. God forbid something happens to it, we lose it or it breaks or anything else. We still have the story, the impact, the history of it. And I think that I care that much more even about that particular thing because of what Susan had done in her video and sharing her story. It gives me a new appreciation for that kind of thing, let's just say.
Well, thank you for that, Kevin. You got your baby too. I love the fur babies, y'all. The ornaments on the tree mean something to me. I've actually got a walnut on my tree that's probably close to 40 years old. I can't say it's 40. It's probably about 32 years old.
My mom has a marshmallow.
Yeah.
A little marshmallow thing I made, and there's a bite out of the backside of it.
But I painted the walnut gold, and I put lace on it. And of course, I made them with my kids. We didn't have any decorations that year, and everybody liked them so much. We ended up giving all of them, but a couple of them away, and I still have the two. And my husband says, "You really, really, really need to repaint that nut because it's so dull now."
Yeah.
But I have a couple of nuts hanging on my Christmas tree every year.
That's funny. Oh, boy.
So I noticed Grow Big TV has got something to mention about YouTube itself in the chat. So thank you for that. Thank you for everybody engaging the conversation today. Grow Big TV is talking about the importance of sharing out live streams and people's channels. So I think we all know how important it is. If you honestly think about the idea, you hear me say it all the time, that we want to give much more than we expect to receive, but I'm very serious about that. We all wish, myself included, that people would share our live streams, share our videos. By the way, if everybody wants to take a second, share this live stream out for Susan right now. But if we think about that, all the things we wish people would do for us, in the beginning especially, you truly have to give more. So I say you want to give more, But the truth is you're going to have to. So if you want 3 people to share out your live stream, you have to go and share out 10. And if you want 3 people to talk about your channel, you have to go talk about, 10 times to other people. And there will be a day, I promise you, if you do that enough, that what comes back to you will be so overwhelming. I couldn't share out as many videos as people share for me regularly. The number of times that people share out a Tuber Chat live stream, I'm amazed, because I go to Twitter, there's a bunch of them. I go to the community page, there's a bunch of them. Get notifications all the time. But that's because I try to do as much as I can for others. We can only do as much as we can do, but I promise you everybody will be fine. So when we talk about sharing, particularly on the community tab, it's the number one thing that I, as the host of Tuber Chat, am thanked for, and have been for 7 years now. Well, 3.5 years of Tuber Chat, but even before that, sharing is the number one thing that I'm thanked for. So that gives you the hint right there. It's one of the things I take most seriously. So you will notice that in almost every case, every single day, there are, I don't know how many it is, whether it's 8 to 10 shares a day. Once in a while, I'll share our own stuff. We have a copyright-free music channel. I'll put that out once a day now because I'm focused on it. Sometimes I don't even share out the Tuber Chat live streams on the community post, but I always make sure we're sharing. It's not always super chatters. It's not always members. I have a system that allows me to make sure that I'm sharing for supportive channels in any way at all. Not everybody can or will participate in memberships, super chats, and things like that. There are a million reasons why. None of us has an unlimited budget. And when somebody like me specifically says on my channel, super chats and memberships are not necessary but appreciated, hopefully that gets through to a few people that understand. I do appreciate it. It helps with all the things you wish it would help with. But there are a lot of people who could probably use some of that love, even more so than myself. So I'm therefore happy to know that people are spreading that kind of thing around. But when we come to the idea of sharing community posts, this is one of the things I hope to show everybody. I've shown many times how to do a simple share on the community post, but the idea is to reinforce the impact that it has by saying you can do that in advance. Right. So even today, and forgive me, Susan, I had forgotten to share this live stream out on the community posts at the right time. So it would have just gone out about a half an hour ago because I did it this morning after I'd already said a bunch of stuff. And I do it about every 2 hours. It's not necessarily recommended on every channel to do that, but I promise you that community posts have more engagement than we think that they do. When you look at the analytics that talk about it, or when you look at how many comments and thumbs up, you'll likely be disappointed with how few interactions you think that the community posts are having. But community posts on YouTube, and forgive the long speech, but they work differently than posts on almost every other social network. Community posts on YouTube are meant to be clicked and to go right into the action. People do not stop to give a thumbs up. They don't stop to leave a comment. They click on it and go into the video. So in almost every case, you're getting more engagement than you think that you are. And that's something you can do for other people. So like I said, it's the number one thing that I've been thanked for, especially as the host of Tuber Chat, but even before so. And I hope everybody can take a hint that that's how much impact that has. So if you are out there sharing 10 live streams or 10 videos for other creators, you know that very soon other people are going to do the same thing for you. You can only do as much as you could do, and I promise you, everybody's going to be just fine. Not everybody can share 10 times a day or 10 times a week or even 10 times a month. But if you do as much as you can, it will come back, and it is a huge driver. Huge. Almost every day, you'll find somebody with a live stream or a premiere, if you're in enough live chats, where somebody will say, I'm new here because somebody else shared. And forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I thought I saw it today in Susan's. Marketplace Boutique is here. She might have shared and had Backyard Trucker come in for that reason. And it could be vice versa. I thought I saw it, and forgive me if I'm mistaken.
You did see that.
There you go. Yeah. So both of those creators are supportive, but these are the kind of things that catch my eye too, because I'm noticing generosity in other creators. It's impossible to catch everything that goes on, but I try to notice it. This is the reason why I feature channels on Tuber Chat. You'll notice that most of the episodes of Tuber Chat, probably 300 or 400 of them, have a featured channel on the thumbnail. And it's the first channel I talk about every day because of generosity that I have seen either in the Tuber Chat family or outside, the impact that they've had on others because of what they do for other people. It's not ever about simply super chats and memberships. If you do enough things for other people, I promise you, you're going to have enough of that stuff. We all will, right? And everybody can see it's all public information when you see super chats and memberships flying all over the place. But when you truly give much more than you expect to receive, I promise it will come back in every aspect of life. Susan will attest to a lot of that, I'm sure. But YouTube is the same.
Yeah, and I'm truly, truly appreciative every time my channel gets shared out. And y'all will go to my community tab and see I do a lot of sharing myself because I do believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can share on your homepage channels that you watch or you
Yep.
want to help grow. There's many, many ways that you can help other channels.
Absolutely. Yes.
I do too.
It's just amazing. I just am so excited that y'all are here, but it's amazing the community that we have grown being small channels. And I remember when I had 0 followers.
Yeah.
And I think Tuber Chat, Kevin was one of the first ones that came on and spoke to my channel. I was like, wow, he saw my channel out there. But the more that you share these out, the more they get into the algorithms. And we all know that the algorithm game is a hard one to break through. So share, and promote other people's channels, and all that kindness will come back to you.
So let me show you an example. And forgive me, because I don't want to hijack the conversation when it comes to this stuff. And I don't mean to self-promote, but here's an example of what I'm talking about. You know that I talk about other channels and promote them all the time. For most of us here, mostly everybody in the chat, probably the 80 to 90% today, are part of the Tuber Chat family already. But when you think about the idea that you can promote others, you hear me talk about other people's channels all the time. If I was to ask anybody here, especially in the Tuber Chat family, who are your top 10 supporters? And if you've been with me for any amount of time, I can have the confidence to say that you are probably going to have to name at least a few channels that came from the Tuber Chat family. Now, it's not that was my foresight. I was inspired by generosity in other creators to even create that channel. But hopefully that just goes to show what I'm talking about. If you are out there supporting other creators and giving much more than you expect to receive, people will have no choice but to refer to you as one of their most supportive creators. You know what I mean? And that's it. I know it goes without saying, but just to clarify the idea, I know I say the same things over and over, but it absolutely is true. One of the things you'll hear from people, like for instance, if Susan's out there sharing or Heather's out there sharing all kinds of other channels, there will be a day that you'll be in somebody's live stream and they'll be like, oh, I love Heather. She shares me all the time. Or I love Susan. She shared out lots of my videos and things like, I promise you, it comes, you start to get known and everybody's listening to everything that everybody says. So when somebody is on a panel like what we're talking about now, and let's say Susan says, oh, I love Heather because she shares my videos out all the time. There are people listening who are saying, well, I want my videos shared out. I'm going to go to Heather because I've heard great things about how she helps other people. And this keeps going and going and going. So I promise you, it's not just about, I know I said that Susan and I happen to likely share a lot of the same values. I'm assuming the same of Heather because we're all here on a panel together. But it has nothing to do with religion. I believe in the golden rule absolutely. If you give much more to other people than you expect to receive, you will get it back. But what I add to that is it will be so abundant. There will be a day it will be overwhelming. There's not enough hours in the day for me to thank everybody for every thumbs up, every comment, every share, or anything else. You can all imagine that. It would be impossible, right? And this is what I'm talking about. But we all start at the beginning. We all start at zero.
Alfonso had a question. What can I do if one of the friends loses their channel? How can you still support them? Christy said, create a video about it. But if you have their email, reach out to them and make sure that they're okay. We actually had a lady that started a channel because of my lives, and then her husband passed away, and then she lost her password to her channel, and she couldn't get back on there. But I reached out to her for several months, just making sure that she was okay, because she had suffered such a tragedy. And the seed that was planted turned around, and I kept telling her, I said, God's going to provide for you. And she was an artist, and she got offers because they had seen her artwork on her channel and started getting offers for professional artwork. So she became a professional artist because of that. So
Wonderful.
You never know what those seeds are going to produce.
One of the things I can add just to the idea specifically of that question, I find that it's probably safer to say 90%, but at least 80% of creators that lose YouTube channels, if it's not for simple like copyright infringement and things like that, but if they lost it for other reasons, but they're passionate, 80 to 90% of the people come back 2 weeks later. And then if not on YouTube, at least on another platform. So it's easy to support them there. Unfortunately, I had a really good friend, somebody who helped us in the beginnings of Tuber Chat greatly, lose a channel with over 100 and I think it was 115,000 subscribers. And that creator had been on for whatever it was, 15 years or 17 years. So there's a history of different types of guideline strikes and everything else. But that creator is now no longer focused on YouTube. They were a couple of times, but they're out doing other things on the internet as well. So that's an example, right? But there are lots of those. And I've seen, even when people have come to me and say, hey, Kev, I lost my channel, what should I do? Well, or I've had it, a lot of times it could be overwhelming in a negative way. Like, I lost my channel, all that work, all that time. What am I going to do? But 2 weeks later, they're starting anyway. So that is often the case. Susan's absolutely right. If you can reach out to somebody on another social network or by email or anything like that, you can give them the positivity and the support that they need outside, and then whatever it is that they're going to do, because I believe that probably 90% of us, even if the worst in the world happens, we're drawn to this. We're probably going to do more of this. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be another platform. You'll be able to support them in all the traditional ways that we talk about once they get there. You might even be able to help them get a restart.
Awesome. Welcome in, Nora, the Stock Explorer. She is a great friend and supporter of this channel, and I love watching her scratch those tickets here lately. Mm-hmm. I don't always get to comment, but I do watch, Nora, just to let you know. I do try to get in there and watch you as much as possible. And I love Miss LB with Woman Outdoors as well. She's another great channel. All of y'all are really great channels. There's a couple of channels out here, Rushing Wind Mountain and Smoky Mountain Nature, that does the ASRM videos that are usually silent or just with music or nature, and they're very, very relaxing. So if you ever get in a bind where you just can't get your mind to focus on anything, turn to one of those channels and just sit down and relax, because we all need that time down.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. Very, very true. And the Stock Explorers here, did you say that? I don't know if I heard you.
Yeah,
say
I did say. Yeah.
I was probably reading some comments.
I could probably tell you a little bit about every channel that comes through my lives. Alfonso is legally blind. He plays music by ear. He does puppetry. He loves trains. Rudy Arjeta has autism. He comes to my channel. He loves numbers, commercials, and he likes to go to plays and watch puppetry as well. So there's always a personality that you can connect with on different channels. Joe with Grow Big TV and Garden State Gardener is our seed guy. I think he has seeded just about everybody's garden that is on YouTube. The list goes on and on and on of the great friendships that we have forged here. And it just is exciting to get to know people. Christy Betts doesn't have a channel, but yet she's my neighbor from down the road. And I met her through one of my lives. And then we got together and had lunch together. And it was a great day. And I'd like to do it again when one of us has a vehicle that runs.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great live today. Lots of good points, good ideas and suggestions, and meeting new people.
And I'd like to invite y'all back again anytime. You just let me know when you're available, and I will get you plugged into the date because there's so much more we could talk about. I just really have enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you both. It's wonderful to be in a conversation, and a panel with a couple of people who I know are so supportive as well. I see you both out there supporting other people all the time.
Right.
We got Carp in the house. That's Jerry. Was Carpenter's Self-Reliance is now 49 more. Welcome in.
Oh, did I not realize? Thank you. Sorry, Susan. I didn't realize that they changed their name. I think they told me that too. And 49 more has been coming into Tuber Chat now for, I don't know if it's a month or 2 months or how long it is. And I forgot. They must have told me that. And they've been, I talk about that channel just because I do similar work in the good weather months outside. I'm lucky enough to be able to work in this and that, so I do. But that channel hits home for me because that's how I got my start on YouTube. We filmed our work, and I said we're either going to use it or we're not going to use it, but we're trying. And then that's how all this began. So forgive me, 49 more. I'm going to remember that now.
A lot of good content. So if you haven't checked his channel out, check it out. For sure.
Rudy's in the house. I wanted to show him the rabbit. This is Mr. Skittles, y'all. He's trying to escape. You see the rope?
He's gonna go look for some carrots.
Yeah.
Chocolates.
He said yummy carrots. I've got them planted out in the garden, and he knows.
Oh, you might not have any more carrots.
Uh-oh.
What got you into puppetry, Susan?
I was doing children's church in a church that had no children, and the Lord kind of led me to go to the pastor and say a church without children is a dead church. We need a children's program. So my husband would go around the neighborhood, and we started picking up children that had never been to church. And I would teach them Sunday school through children's church. So 3 hours every Sunday morning, they got fed not only the word of God, but they got fed food.
Yes.
And they learned to love Jesus. And we did one vacation Bible school with a very old 1970 something vacation Bible school program. And a friend of mine from church and I made all of the backdrops and everything for it. We had 30 something children there, and about 30 of those children were saved that final Sunday of that vacation Bible school. Wow. So I learned puppetry through, what was the name of it? Bring Them In is a program that I went through, and I learned how to do puppetry, ventriloquism. I can't even say the word right. clowning and all kinds of things. And it was just really a way to reach the children. And if you got something in your hand, they're going to pay attention to what's going on in your hand, but they're going to hear everything that you're saying. Those children would walk out of my Sunday school and children's church not knowing one scripture by heart, but two every Sunday. And so it was a great way to teach them, and they never knew what I was going to do or come in with. I would come in wigs. I would change my clothes. I'd do all kinds of crazy things, and they absolutely loved it. And I didn't make them sit down because about 95% of the class was hyperactive. So if they were up there standing on their head, they were still listening. Yeah. So it was a great way to teach them. And I taught anybody from a toddler that was potty trained to 12-year-olds in the same class.
I have a few puppets, and one I named Sally. Sally comes from the country. Anyway, Sally taught them their phonics. And almost all of my children that were with me for 3+ years are advanced in school and getting like full scholarships into college and stuff.
Wow,
like that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful when we can inspire young people in any way at all. I was lucky enough when I was a young lad. My parents had us in Sunday school, for years. I'll never remember how long. And then even the occasional Bible camp kind of thing, where you just go for a few hours during the summer. And things like that. Even in high school, you're reminding me, but I remember a friend of mine saying to me one day, we got to go to this thing. It's called like Bible Club, I think it was. And I said, Bible Club? Well, that sounds ridiculous to me because I want to go shopping and I want to go to the record store and I want to, there's a million other things I'd rather do at 14, 15 years old. He's like, no, God, it's cool. There are like 20 or 30 people there. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I had to see this. So this woman opened up her home to everybody, and she had like the younger kids in the basement. The older kids were all up in the kitchen. We'd sit around the table and things like that. And it was shocking to me at how engaged everybody was. But I also found that inspiring as well, right? The stories through our lifetime that kind of shape us and inspire us for different things. But I was so happy, and especially now telling the story, to know that there's so much positivity out there and people can be inspired, right? If it was not for my friend saying like, well, if you want to hang out with me, you got to come see this thing, but I'm telling you, you're going to like it. I don't remember how long that went on for, but it was a while. And again, it's not always just the religion itself. It's the community, it's the positivity. And I did have the traditional, the Sunday school. We went to church every week and things like that. So I was able to experience that as well. And I'm grateful for that. But it's the positivity, I think, more than anything else, the community and the people being so warm and welcoming to each other, and wanting the best for each other. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Very
I was one of the kids that when I was growing up, my mother would ship me off to every vacation Bible school in the community. So the whole summer long, I was in vacation Bible school, and I loved it. I absolutely loved everything we were doing. And I wanted to bring that to the children in our area because they were unchurched. A lot of them were troubled children, having trouble in school. And so they learned that they could trust me if they had questions because I had tutored. Math and English, I could tutor them a little bit. And y'all, I am not the grammar police by any means because I make all kinds of grammatical mistakes along the way. But they got to trust me, and that building that trust was part of getting them to the point of salvation. You build a relationship with a person, whether it's in church or outside of church. You build that relationship and that trust. And we need to get back to that in this country and in Canada and other places. Get back to my word is my bond kind of situations.
Absolutely.
If you say something, you mean it. And you learn to listen. Learning to listen means you may have to repeat something back to somebody a few times for them to to catch on to what you're doing, but you learn to listen and be able to respond back to them in a positive manner. We've got too much negativity going on in this world, and we don't need to be negative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
Yeah, I think it's that much more inspiring when I say that, Tuber Chat's now almost 4 years old. So it was just over 4 years ago that I started the process. But it came from inspiration, because never before in my life in anything that I'd done had I seen so many people that said, come and we'll help you. We want you to do what we do, not don't copy me, not go do something else, stay out of our group and things. It was the opposite. And I said, well, wow, if there's already this many people, there must be a huge community if we could all just find each other, like-minded people with generosity at the forefront of our minds. And luckily, that's what we've got here. That's what you both have got in our building. That's what I've been lucky enough to have been right about in the first place. And it continues to grow. And that itself is inspiring as well.
Yeah.
Well, I really have enjoyed having you both on here. We have been on here almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So is there any final thoughts that either one of you would like to share with everybody? And then we can go ahead and close out for the day.
I'll let you go ahead, Heather.
Okay. Keep learning and growing and keep sharing and keep being kind.
Absolutely. I would just back that up. Positivity is always the thing, and it's great that we have people willing to help and inspire each other in that way.
Go out and smile at somebody that you don't know. It might be the brightest moment of their day.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much it means to me when I see somebody smile at me or smile back at me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to say hello to a stranger. Thank you, folks, for watching. We all appreciate you being here. And may you be fully blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.